I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your host Amber,
Me.
and me, Sydney. Woohoo! Co-owners of Shield Maiden Trading Co. This is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to women in the LGBTQIA plus community.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! I never thought I'd be a woo girl,
You
here
are
we-
a woo girl.
but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
It's weird. We're wooing.
We're wooing.
It's the end of November and we're wooing.
It's the end of November and we're wooing because if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that we have a love for the holidays. We also love talking about the holiday things that come up
Yes.
because it's a lot of fodder for our show.
It is. That's not what this show is.
No,
Today's episode.
This episode is we're wrapping up old lady fitness. Women and aging and the intersection at fitness.
There we
because
go.
we most people, if you're lucky, you get to age. Like it is
Yeah.
it is
It's
a
a thing
thing.
that happens.
It's a thing that happens if you're lucky. And like I try and frame it in my mind that way. It's like, only the lucky people get to grow old.
Fair enough.
And so the lucky people, if you're lucky enough to be growing old, it's probably because you've had some good fitness at some point in your life.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay. So this week we're exploring how communities play a role in supporting us through our aging process. Hopefully. Community is defined as a group of people with a common characteristic or interest living together within a larger society. Humans aren't meant to be alone all the time.
Though some of them do prefer being more
do like
alone
that.
than others.
We are social beings. Sometimes that social circle is small.
Yeah.
So since we are inherently social beings, feeling disconnected from others can deeply affect our physical and emotional health. I think we probably saw a lot of this during the pandemic.
Yeah, because it brought out things that a lot of people had not experienced before.
Mhm.
A big kind of, I think probably the only other time something like that would probably be during like the AIDS crisis, and that affected a smaller community.
Right.
But obviously it was still greatly impacting. But
Yeah.
to the scale in which we saw the pandemic and kind of that disconnection hadn't really been seen for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lost my place. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Studies have linked the emotional strain of loneliness caused by social isolation to physical illness, including sleep disorders, heart disease, and a weakened immune system, which kind of sucks when you're in the middle of a global pandemic.
Right?
A public health study done in Canada even ranked social isolation as a higher risk factor for premature death. Yikes. We think it's especially important for women as they age.
Yeah, communities are especially important. Like, it's clear that communities are important for everybody.
I mean, yes.
And we think that it's important as women age because we're going to go into some reasons. But one of the things that when I was reviewing this episode that I was thinking a lot about is the women that I saw working out at the YMCA when I was like 18 and it was like my summer job, who
Yep.
they would come in and do like, the aqua aerobics and
Oh my
things like
God,
that.
love it.
They also had a vibrant social life. Like they
Mhm.
would talk about going and getting breakfast once a week, or, they would hang out on the weekends together. They had social gatherings. So it
Mhm.
was more than just like fitness in that moment. They had that community outside of that place, and that was really cool to see. And man, those ladies had a more active social life than I think I did at an AT. They were always talking about some fun thing they did or some
Aw.
place they volunteered, and I was like, wow. And I don't mean this to sound this way, but y'all get around. Like they were
Yeah,
active.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I love that.
it was just a fun reflection while writing this episode because I was like, oh yeah, like this is super important, and I've seen it in real life.
I want to be one of those aquarobics
Yeah.
ladies when I grow up.
And they always had so much fun. They were there early in the morning and like they were always joking and like
Hmm.
they would just like there was always like 10 ladies and like 3 gentlemen and they just like enveloped them in their circle and it
Yeah,
was great.
that's amazing.
And like they would bring like the gentlemen, I remember very specifically on a Valentine's Day, the 3 older gentlemen brought every one of them flowers. They
Oh,
were just like handing out the flowers and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
that's so
It was
sweet.
so sweet.
I have an aunt who I assume still is one of the aquarobics women.
They're also really
It's
fit.
awesome. Yeah.
Like I remember we were lifeguards and the aqua aerobics instructor was like, "Oh, I'll do like a free class for all the lifeguards." And then we're like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, we're all super, super fit." And then they gave us those like the like dumbbells with the
Oh
like
yeah.
floaties on the end and the different like higher flotation, the harder it is.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we all like thinking
Yep.
we're big and bad and grab the high ones and I was like just like floating away. I couldn't like press them down. I was like, "I'm gonna need some lighter ones, Miss Jan." Like, it was kind of embarrassing. I was like, "Oh, I got schooled by floaties."
Do you maybe need a step stool to put you a little higher in the water too?
I was always closer to the shallow end. I was on the definitely firmly on the 3-foot side of the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So,
Okay.
just side tangent about women in communities, and we're gonna go a little further into this.
Yes.
So, one of the things that I think we were alluding to there is that it really gives us connection and belonging. So, finding others with the same values, interests, and worldviews makes us realize that we're not alone,
Mhm.
and that makes us feel valued. Super
Yeah.
simple. Being accepted into a group gives us a stronger sense of self and can help us cope with negative experiences and feelings. So, like,
Hmm.
if you're experiencing those things out in the world, we know we can't avoid them. But if you feel like you're connected, you have some place to go and be like, no, I'm valued. Those things are shitty, but that's okay. I got my aqua aerobics group. They got my back. Like it's like a gang of aqua aerobics ladies.
Right. Oh my gosh. Um, okay, so learning is also a benefit of building these communities as we age.
Mm,
Communities are usually built around common interests, but that doesn't mean they're homogenous. What? Homogenous, right?
homogenous
Yeah,
or homogeneous, if you would like.
homogeneous.
If you would, if you're
If you're fancy.
if you're southern like me, like,
No.
goddamn homogeneous.
Okay. Anyways, we'll cut that out. Damn homos. Okay. We can still find people within them that have different views, experiences, beliefs, and learning from them can help us reach insights that we may not have reached on our own.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things where I read an article, this was a few years ago of and side this is an alleyway. The alleyway
Tangent.
no,
Mhm.
alleyway we're gonna go down. I read an article about why it's important to go to church, but church as in like a meeting space within your community.
Mm,
So not necessarily advocating for like a very standardized or strict religion,
right.
but more that churches often are places where your community is there. Everybody who most of the time, like they were lived in communities and you went, it was one church option, right?
Right.
But in that church option, there were different people of different beliefs, different socioeconomic statuses, and those
Hmm.
kinds of things. So you were doing exactly that. You were learning from people within your community that had different experiences than you.
Hmm.
And over the years, there's been a long time like joke that like CrossFit replaced church because like a lot of people will still go on like Sunday morning and they'll go get a workout in.
Hmm.
And it's the same feeling of like you get a lot of different people in that fitness space or just a gym in general
And also a little cult like.
and a little cult like. Exactly.
You give it lots of money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that kind of sense of like, okay, we don't all look the same, or we might not all make the same. Some of us might be white collar workers, blue collar workers, and you get to still learn and interact with them in a really like controlled environment.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
And I think continuing to learn and grow in, learning intellectually or growing in your viewpoints or opinions or things like that is important to, stay young and not feel old and stuck in your ways and, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we can all think about the people who have like kept up with not technology and like learned how to use the
Mhm.
advancing technology, and those people always appear younger than what they really are. Those
Yeah.
people can, they have to engage their brains and they've learned and they're
Yes.
just like still kind of woven into the fabric. And then you can think about the people who have not kept up with it, even
Mhm.
if they're not that old.
Right.
Like 60-year-olds and they're like, I don't know how to use a computer. You're like, "What?
How could you
It's been around for like a while now. Like
right?
it's not an emerging technology."
Yeah. It
So
keeps those mental, I don't know, capabilities, facilities, whatever
yeah.
you want to call them, functioning and
I-
like keeps those neural pathways
Yeah.
alive
Alive.
and functioning.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
You
good.
we all know that 55-year-old who's like, I don't know how to use Outlook.
It's just email, man.
It's the oldest corporate email there is. Everybody uses Outlook.
Uh,
Okay, so one of the other benefits is influence.
okay.
And hopefully it's a positive one. Like
One would
that's what
hope.
we hope. So like we need an extra push to stop us from falling into unhealthy habits or thoughts,
Mhm.
especially experiencing the positive influences of like-minded people is another reason behind the importance of community. Studies confirm that our overall health is partly determined by our ability to look at ourselves, but sometimes we simply don't feel like we're capable of doing that.
Mhm.
So communities can influence us and motivate us to invest in our well-being and bring a positive changes to our lives.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I like that.
I thought
Makes
that was
sense.
kind of cool. Of like, yeah, I can reflect back and be like, "Oh, there's definitely been some times where, like, the influence has been positive, and I wouldn't have been able to make that shift in my brain if a group of people weren't there to support me and also tell me, like, 'No, you're doing great. Keep going.'"
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely can be a motivator to get you to the gym, to the trail, to go for a walk, like whatever you're doing with that community.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Um, okay. So another benefit for community is acceptance. Um, Belonging to a community can help us accept that sometimes we're strong and sometimes we're vulnerable, and that we need the support of others to avoid unnecessary emotional struggles and pain. It's also an opportunity to practice acceptance of others,
Yeah, I love this
that
one.
learning piece.
Yeah, that learning. So, like, they kinda go hand in hand of, like, now you have learned about somebody else, but it's one thing to learn about them, it's another thing to, like, accept somebody for who they are.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of that struggle going on right now
Mm.
socially, where there's a lot more division than there is acceptance.
Yes.
And I think putting ourselves in supportive communities, especially as we age, because we need to try and get to that point of acceptance of other people.
Yes.
And as much as like certain things definitely frustrate me and upset me, I think it's also important for us to interact with people that don't always necessarily have the most positive outlook on
Mm.
maybe women or in my case LGBTQIA.
Uh,
Not that I want to be necessarily the spokesperson for everyone in that community, but I have, however, put myself out there. Like I'm
yes.
literally on a podcast about it. And so I think it's
Fair.
important to like put myself in those situations and practice acceptance of like maybe they're raised in a different kind of outlook and
Yes.
like they have a different way of looking at it. And I also have to be willing to accept them. Because if I can't accept them, why should they accept me?
I suppose.
See? Eh? It's a hard thing to practice.
It is.
It's especially hard, for us where it's like, you
We have very strong viewpoints about what it means to be a kind human being.
yeah. Like I just want to live my life. And
Yeah.
yeah. But
Hmm. Hmm.
it's important to practice and be open and willing to like hear their opinions or like viewpoints.
Fair.
Yeah. At
That's fair.
least in some respect.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that you owe everybody all the time. Like
Yeah.
I always say, like you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to my audience.
Mm, that's fair.
Like
Yeah.
you can have it, but that doesn't mean I have to listen in that moment.
Right.
And if that's something you need to say in that moment, it still doesn't mean that I need to listen.
You can say it till you're blue in the face. That doesn't mean I have to sit here and listen to it.
Exactly. But practicing
Yeah.
acceptance.
It is good.
It is good. Okay. This one, big one.
Okay.
I love this one. It gives us accountability. Communities give us accountability. We're more likely to stick to a fitness routine when we have others to exercise with. And knowing that we're expected in a group can encourage us to be consistent. So like
Hmm.
if you have people texting you, if you're, you always go to the 8:30 class and people are like, "Yo, you haven't been here in a while. What's up?" You're going to be like, "Oh, right."
Yeah.
Or you might wake up and be like, I don't feel like going, but you don't really have a reason. Like your body's fine, your
Yeah.
mental health's good. You're just like, I'm feeling lazy today.
I
And
just
then,
don't want to.
yeah, and then you're like, oh, those people, they're fun and I really enjoy being with them. Okay, I'll get up and go.
Yeah. Like it's a partner workout today. I guess I should go and work
Exactly.
out with my
Yeah.
normal partner.
And one of the things that I realized is the best I felt and the best I probably like looked was right before my wedding or like right
Yeah.
after.
I don't know. You got like sketchy thin
But that
at
was
one point.
that was way past my wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like the spring of the pandemic.
Mm,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. We were working out a lot.
Yeah, well, there's
With
nothing
nothing
else to
else to
do
do.
in Maine. But like right around because of the accountability
Hmm.
piece, I knew I had this event coming up. You and Shelby were both working out.
Hmm.
We had made friends and connections at the gym. It was
Hmm.
on our way home from work, so there was really
It's
no
very
like
convenient.
driving by. You would literally like drive by and your like class would be like running down the street and they're just like, "Fuck you, you're supposed to be here with us." And you're like, "Oh, sorry guys." You have to like
Just like hiding your face as you
like
drive
drive
by
the and it was bad because like you really had to go out of your way to
to
go
get around
around
it.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It was, yeah.
so like there was so much accountability
Hmm.
and I like thinking back about it. I was like, okay, yeah. I think that's something that I would like to build more into my current routine because I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying what I'm doing, but I think having more
More
people
community.
would be great.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely miss that too. I think that was, I mean, that's how I got into more of a fitness routine was because of that community.
Mhm. I remember we drove by one day and like I'm gonna call her out by name, but nobody knows. I won't call her out by last name. But Becky was literally running. It's like we're like drive by and Janet, which of course Shelby has like a
Vanity plate.
a vanity plate, so like it was very clearly us.
Who it was.
They were just like, "What are you doing?"
Bye.
Hi guys, I'm gonna go home and eat my bag salad.
Oh, I miss that crew. Okay. Studies show that working out with others increases your time spent exercising, even doubling the amount of time. That makes sense. Compared to those who exercise alone. Watching others can inspire you to work harder and keep going when you want to quit. I can attest to that. We've talked about how when we age, we need to often increase the duration of our exercise. That was what last week.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've
Um,
been talking about it this whole
well,
month is like essentially what I've learned is like as you get older, you have to exercise more, not
yeah.
less. I'm like crap, going in the wrong direction.
So go back and listen to last week's. Um, so long story short, you want to aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity or exercise each week. So that's 150 minutes or 75 minutes over the week.
Yes, over the week.
You don't have to do that all in one day.
No.
Um,
But considering, like, I thought about this the other day, I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty proud of myself. My average mile pace is like between like 10 and 10:35.
yeah,
And
that's
I'm
great.
like, okay, I can run a mile in 10 minutes. Yeah. I need to be doing way more. Like when I was actually like looking at the minute breakdown, I was like,
Mm,
crap. But you think you're like, oh, I run a mile three
that's
times
right.
a week. I'm like, okay, so that's 30 minutes for the entire week. And I'm looking for 150 minutes.
I don't know. How intense was the climbing this morning? I feel like that counts.
I don't think for us.
We exerted ourselves in our
I
conditions,
know. I am breathing kind of hard just reading this episode. We have
right? We are both coming off of being sick and, well, immunized.
yeah.
Okay. So, along with that moderate to vigorous intensity activity, uh, or as part of, you should also be strength training a couple days, at least a week.
Yep. Help with that bone density.
Woohoo.
Woohoo. Yeah. So we understand that finding your community can be really tricky, and that if you're interested in lifestyle change, you may have to go in search of a new community. And I put this in here
Mm,
because, like, I feel like that's kind of where I am now.
yeah.
Is, my goals, my priorities have shifted, which means my old CrossFit weight training, weightlifting, like that doesn't fit, but I love that. I just have to go find a new community. And apparently, I've entered the age where either you have children or you do a triathlon. So
What?
I'm gonna do a triathlon, and hopefully, maybe I'll find some community in that.
Yikes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the hardest part.
Uh-huh.
Is like without it, all of the other things fall away. Your consistency becomes way less. Your accountability isn't there. So like you really, that's the key.
hmm
And I think I have to go shopping for a new community.
Yeah, I feel that way too. When I stopped CrossFit last year, it definitely, obviously my exercise plummeted because I wasn't going to a gym anymore. I didn't have that community to hold me accountable. Um, and then I joined Peak and we're now doing the rock climbing thing. And so I think that helps having our group
Yeah.
that we climb with, twice a week or whatever. Um, so I think that's been good. And it was great when I was doing that class,
Oh, the training clinic?
the training clinic, yes. Because then I was like, okay, I have to go to this clinic and climb for a couple hours once a week. And then we're also climbing with friends another couple of nights a week. So it felt like I was doing more. Um, but yeah, I'm in that period as well where I really should find a community to do things
Yeah.
um, to help hold me accountable. Because otherwise, I don't do it. I have discovered.
I mean, I think a lot of people are like that. Even if they enjoy feeling really good after they've exercised, like I think most of us can attest that, it's definitely not one of those things where we're like, "Oh, I hate the way I feel after I exercise." Like
Yeah,
people don't say that. It's just that other things get in the way and you lose that community because things have shifted.
yeah,
And then finding a new one's really hard.
it is. And it's easy when you're working out alone, to make excuses to be like, well, I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I should do this instead. I need to get that done. And nobody's expecting you to be anywhere. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to know for the new year. We're going to
Oh, no.
spend some time finding new community, or
Woohoo.
even just like increasing the community that we already have. Like we
Yeah.
we do a lot of rock climbing. I think we could do more.
Yes.
But the thing with rock climbing is it's a sport, right? Like you can't just there's a lot of people who climb and all they do is climb.
Yeah.
But to be good and to be really like to be doing everything is you also have to train rock climbing. So that's like
Yeah.
weight training,
It's the next
grip
piece.
strength, it's the next piece. So we
Even
just
casually climbing.
yeah, I'm gonna just throw that out there.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So, because women's age related issues are often understudied, as most things are for women in the science community, it's important for us to seek out fitness communities that understand our experiences.
Yeah. So like I think
Yeah.
that's the thing of like why the women in the aerobics class are so successful is because they're at an age where everybody in the class has very shared experiences.
Hmm.
They they probably are limiting the impact to their joints. Like that's one of the
Yes.
reasons that are all there. And so like it's just I think that's why they're so successful.
Yeah. Is there like a late 30s, early 40s
I know we should make one.
aerobics class that we could
Okay.
join?
So I really want you to come as like our guest
Okay.
because we found on Saturday mornings, there's an instructor at the pool that we go to, and we swim for the triathlon. But she has the best music, and like
Nice.
everybody in her class, they are working,
I
and
love
I'm
it.
like, they're all 65 and older. But I was like, do you think I could join that class?
Is there an age?
Like, is there an age minimum? Like, she had Prince's like Purple Rain playing. Like, it
Oh my
was
God.
man. She had Madonna. Like, it was
That's rocking.
yeah.
I love it.
It was so I was like, "I wonder if Amber will come to this class with me."
Oh, I would absolutely come to that class with you.
Okay, good to know. I think
100%. I
I
want to be one of those awkward looks ladies.
and the whole pool is like 4.5 feet or 3.5 feet or whatever. So, like, I can touch everywhere.
So you're not going to drown
So I'm not gonna
with your
drown.
weights.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Perfect.
so to wrap up kind of this episode, I think we feel like the key to being able to stay consistent with your fitness routine is kind of a two-step process.
Okay.
One is find an activity you enjoy
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
if you hate it, you're probably not going to do it for long.
Nope.
And two, finding your people in that activity.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, again, we're unlocking the keys to fitness for everyone here. If you haven't shared this with all of your friends, you should be, because we've just told you the keys to success. Find an activity that you enjoy, find your people in that activity. Stupid simple.
Done.
Done. Okay, caveat. You may have a lot of trial and error in step two, but remember to keep searching. And when you find it, stick with it for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Like, I know sometimes people can kind of bounce around from different, like, oh, I think this is my community. You got to give it a little while, like
Yeah.
6 months, really get in there. If you'll know if it's not the right place.
Right.
But also don't get distracted by all the like fancy new up and coming things. Like if your thing is pickleball, stick with pickleball. If your thing is tennis, that's fine. If your thing is jujitsu,
Yeah.
awesome. Like you don't have to be about it's okay to have hobbies,
Yes.
but don't be jumping around on your fitness. Like
Yeah.
try and stick in the activity and the people that you like for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So that is a wrap for this week and this month of Women in Aging in Fitness, because we are women and
And
aging
we're aging.
in fitness. Okay. What is this?
I
I
made
just
a
read my
I
last.
made a wonderful closer for this episode.
Do you want to sing your little ditty?
No, I want you to sing it.
I'm not. I have been sick. I cannot sing.
Come on. You can do it.
All right. So we've got Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell Rock is the soundtrack for next month.
Yep.
We just passed Thanksgiving, which means the holiday season is upon us.
It
We are
is.
in it. So if you've been listening for a while, like we said, you know we like our themed episodes, our themed months. So we've come full circle. We are diving back into the holidays stressors,
Yeah.
seasonal scaries. It's coming up next month.
It is. I'm so excited.
So make sure you keep listening. We're going to talk you through your seasonal scaries. We're going to get you through the seasons,
We
the
are.
holidays.
We are.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if you are new to us, go back and listen to everything. We're coming full circle. You're gonna love it.
You've got a little bit of time. You're gonna have to listen fast.
Yeah. But you can it's okay.
They're
You can
short
put us on
episodes.
like 1.2 speed.
Mm.
And then yeah. Maybe you're driving like home
Yeah.
for the holidays. You can catch up on this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Woohoo.
Cue music.
Cue music.